Hi, welcome to our 90-minute Fever Cup match versus FC Black Sails. They're in EFA, very hard league, mid-table. Won their last two league matches very comfortably. Against two other mid to lower table teams, so they're okay. They play let's see if it's the same for both. It is, so they play quite an attacking tactic like we tend to. And we know actually that when we play against more balanced tactics with better teams, it does tend to be our undoing a bit. So why don't we just give it a try in this match? Just set up more defensive and see. We can always switch if it doesn't work. Just see if this allows us to control the match a bit better against them. No, but they're not playing attacking anymore. So I think we still stay with the more defensive setup. I think we didn't create anything yet, so straight away I'm already going to say abandon this, it's not working. I think we could play dual holding midfielders initially, but all in all we are just officially abandoning the tactic. Thing is, we're not actually that good versus other good teams who are online. We tend to be fine against teams that are offline, and our team is strong enough to overcome teams that are weaker than ours. But when we've faced other strong teams and their managers have been online, we lose a fair bit. I think we've got a mountain to climb here. He'd be okay. He's not changing anything here. He's winning, he's getting most of the play. He's more than happy. It's up to us to change something. He's definitely more than happy. We need luck now. We're not going to create enough, I don't think, to just score two more goals through sheer volume of shots. I think we're going to need to get a bit lucky here. And that's part of what we need. he's still creating a bit. I think it's definitely. He's creating enough easily that he could score another goal without it even being that sort of fortunate on his behalf. And we're not creating a fair bit, but the reality is at this point in time we're only losing by 1 goal. We're having a bit more of the play than him. Luckily we pulled it back. The big decision is now whether we leave it or change it, but I think honestly we just leave it because with how we're currently set up, we've scored 2 goals and haven't scored any, so it kind of just makes sense to leave it now, and that put the onus on him to change stuff. And realistically still, I just don't think that. I think it's just one of those sort of classic cases where he might be happy with the current situation as well. Where everybody's just happy. It might be one of those weird situations. Got a lot of players with a lot of energy still. Maybe we don't need to back off so much. Got to bear in mind as well that it's a cup match. So obviously we'll go to extra time. I think we can slow the tempo down. He's now going to switch to this other tactic that we've seen in his previous matches, and now, I mean, the thing is, it's like there actually hasn't been that much created in this match. So call it bad. Because we've only had 7 shots on target. I mean, they've only had 5. There's not been much created. So many goals for so little created. And like we said before, that we needed some luck. And also more luck. We needed some luck, and luck came. And now it's just weird because we are winning, but it doesn't really make sense to change away from this tactic, because with this tactic we scored 4 goals to their none. So this setup, exactly after they scored that goal, we pushed McAllister further up, and since we did that, it's 4 to 1. And now we're thinking. Should have been thinking before they scored, and we're saying we can't change it, is that we could change it, and maybe if we go back to what we started with against this tactic, it would actually work a lot better, potentially. I think there's no way that Lee will get through the whole match here in extra time. So we should just probably sub him off now. No, wrong one. Carter. I don't think it's over yet though. I think there might be another twist in the tail yet. And it's only so much we want to overcommit to defending here, because if they do score, it's going to go to extra time. But I think we can Pereira will be pretty exhausted if it does, so I think we can get a fresh defender on at least. And then we still got one more sub. Do something else with after if they do score. I think we can now press fully. I think we can go more defensive and play dual holding midfielders. I think we can get more defensive maybe now. I think we were in big trouble, honestly. When there wasn't much happening in this match and they scored off their first 2 shots off target, we had a massive mountain to climb. But we changed stuff, and with the combination of it sort of turning the match into our favour. I mean, in the end, I think they had the slight upper hand. In the end, we actually had 21 shots to their 14, so we had 50% more shots than them. So we actually ended up with quite a substantial sort of more amount of chances than them, considering that it was quite locked. But the reality is that we were lucky to win still from this point in time. Even then, you wouldn't expect that we would score 5 goals from 8 shots on target. Basically, you'd expect that we'd score more like 2, maybe, or 3. And if we scored 2 or 3, then they had 5 more shots on target, so they would have been expected to have scored 1 or 2. So the reality, something like that. So the reality is, from the point where we were 2-0 down, it was always going to be a massive uphill struggle to win this. We needed to do well, make the right choices, play optimally, but we were also going to need to also be extremely lucky on top of that. And both needed to happen. We had to play optimally, and we had to be lucky. Now, we could have played suboptimally and got lucky and lost still. And we could have made the right decisions and not been lucky and lost still. Both had to happen. We had to make the correct decisions and we had to be lucky. Fortunately, both happened. We made the correct decisions and we got very lucky. And those two things together, we managed to win. I think this is one of the biggest sort of mountains that we've climbed in a match to get over, I think, this season. I'm not sure if there's been a bigger, deeper hole that we've had to climb out of in a match that we have gone on to win it. I think this was the biggest sort of match that we turned around all season. So it isn't normal, but like saying, from the point where we're 2-0 down, we have to play optimally, and we know we've got to be lucky. So you've got to assume that you're going to be lucky. You assume that the luck is going to happen. If you've got no choice, the only possible way that you can get a result is to be lucky, then you have to assume that the luck will come. So you play from this point assuming that you'll be lucky, because you've got no choice. You have to be lucky. So you assume that you'll be lucky, And then you have to say to yourself, right, so assuming that I'm going to be really lucky from this point in time, what else actually has to happen here on top of me being really lucky in order for me to win? And this is sort of from the point where we're 2-0 down, this is how we've had to approach the game mentally. We're in a big, deep hole here. We're in trouble. We know we're going to have to be lucky to get out of it. What else do we need to do in addition to being lucky? What choices do we need to make? How can we play optimally so that if that luck does come our way, that we've got the rest of the house in order, the ducks are all in a row, and when the luck sits on the end of the row of ducks, out pops a victory. And that's sort of how you have to approach these matches when you end up in these situations. There's no point just sitting there huffing and puffing and talking about how unlucky you are, and then not sort of playing optimally, and then you might get lucky but you lose anyway, and then you just sort of blame it on, oh well, you know, it all doesn't matter because I was unlucky at the start, so I'm just unlucky and that's just why I lose. Sometimes you will just be unlucky and lose, but sometimes you'll be unlucky but you can still win if you approach things in the right way. So and this is one of those sometimes I think that it's happened. So bit unfortunate for Chris though that he's the one that's on the end of the biggest sort of turnaround all season. Where does that leave us? It's just one of those. It feels like it never ends. This competition. Honestly, it's like you just seem to win and win and win and, or not win, as the case may be. I mean, we never really ever come remotely close to it. This is just one of these. Because this is our bogey competition in some ways. We've been quite successful, but in this competition, we've been knocked out very early, lots of times. Might be the furthest we've ever got in it at the moment, actually, or equal furthest. So we'll have to see if we can get into the quarterfinals with another win. We don't know who we're playing, but obviously it's just such a, I mean, all the teams in the game are in it, and at this point it's just such a filter to just boil it down to from all the teams in the game world who are the, you know, best ones at this point in time. A combination of best and luckiest, I think. But there's no way that teams are getting to round 7 unless they're good and lucky, but they've got to be good. So it'll be interesting to see who we get. Be interesting to see if we can kick on to the next round and then the next round and then the final. But just have to approach these things one match at a time, I think, especially in this competition. It's just so long, it's so epic, and I think that we, like I said, it's our bogey. We definitely never won it. We definitely never made the final. We definitely never made the semi-final. So, but neither would most teams. So let's see how we go. Let's see if we can keep going. So, cheers, thanks for watching, and catch you for the next match.